Hi, my name's Lambert, inventor and producer of EGMi, Evolutional Buddhist Mindfulness, a new way to look at life and a powerful meditation system that maximises use of the left logical positive brain. This vid is about human relationships, sex and instinct, how the faulty human right anxious negative emotional brain that drives all human-made suffering affects our relationships with others. Lower animals do not have faulty right brains. They form relationships based on instinct and natural selection. Instinct is energy seeking the most efficient use of itself through a biological system. As energy seeks the most efficient use of itself through a sexual system, it gives sex drive, which is different from males and females due to their different biological systems. About 3 million years ago, our ancestors slowly evolved more left brain IQ, which led to right brain anxiety. In this period, the change to more anxiety-based relationships began. This gives a mixture of instinct, left brain IQ, and right brain anxiety emotion, which complicates relationships. This would have been increasing over time. Emotion is all bad. It drives suffering. We also have many brain areas that cause the release of pleasure chemicals when stimulated. The left brain gives true happiness. This is not an emotion, but the feeling of brain energy efficiency. By the time humans evolved, we had faulty right anxious negative brains and made more anxiety-based mate and reproductive choices, which blocked natural selection. With anxiety comes related mental illness, which can also be seen as sin, which is any negative, harmful thought, feeling or action. Our relationships became a mixture of left brain logical, positive driven, instinct driven, and right brain anxiety driven. Mate choice based on anxiety is not good. We may choose a mate to relieve our anxiety and reproduce driven by anxiety and its many symptoms. We can also form friendships with people who relieve our anxiety. This can be positive if it is not in a harmful way. Right brain anxiety drives all abuse of our partners, children, friends, or relationships. The left brain gives goodness, energy, efficiency-based relationships. Babies can be more genetically masculine males or females, dependent on testosterone levels. Being a more masculine female or a more feminine male makes a big difference to our genetic sexual instinct drive in relationships. If the right brain is stimulated early by trauma of some kind, then we can begin to have right brain anxiety symptoms very early. We see this with drug-addicted babies and with child abuse. The toddler tantrum is a shift to the right brain. If we know this, we can train kids to use their left brain all the time. Our faulty right anxious negative brains do not usually become very active until about 5 years old, when we begin to understand our environment. We then begin to have anxiety-driven thought, feeling and behaviour. This enters into our relationships. Right brain anxiety-driven OCDs can begin, including sexual and gender identity OCDs. This will have a big effect on our behaviour and relationships. Social anxiety can stop kids forming goodness-based relationships. The strong genetic instinctual sex drive mixed with right brain anxiety-driven sexual OCD can lead to very young kids having harmful sexual relationships with other kids, or right brain anxiety sexual OCD-driven adult predators. It can make kids easy to groom into sexual relationships. Right brain anxiety may increase autism symptoms now linked to SPD, sensory processing disorder. A mixture of autism and OCDs has a big effect on relationships. Right brain anxiety-driven narcissism affects our relationships, how we treat others if we are selfish. As we get older, often stress and pressure increases right brain use with more anxiety symptoms. Teenagers have a mixture of sexual instinct and usually right brain anxiety symptoms. In Oz, we call this young, dumb and full of cum. Mental illness is more common now in teenagers as there is more stress and pressure which stimulates the right brain. If we get onto this early, or better stop it before it begins, we will not be seeing so many kids off the rails, forming harmful relationships and having unwanted pregnancies or worse, harming themselves. When we choose a partner, it can be all good in the honeymoon period. Most will not have much right brain use or hide it from their partners for a while. Once right brain use increases, often due to stress and pressure, then one or both partners can have increased right brain use with many symptoms. Right brain anxiety destroys many relationships as one partner's symptoms drive up right brain use in the other partner. This is how arguments escalate until someone gets hurt. Most people nowadays have right brain anxiety-driven narcissism. A good relationship cannot happen with selfishness. Narcissism and sexual OCD drives most bad sexual behaviour. Add a strong genetic sex drive, instinct, and we have a recipe for disaster. LGT can be genetic, but much is right brain anxiety-driven OCD. This has escalated as LGBT+ has been more accepted as normal. Some is genetic, so normal, but most nowadays is right brain mental illness. Sexual instinct drive is different for every human, and any difference in our sexual biology, body and brain will affect it. Females have a more complicated sexual system, so a more complicated sex drive and instinct. Males are more like wombats, eats roots and leaves. More genetically masculine females can be attracted to both a more genetically feminine male or female. A more genetically feminine male can be attracted to a more masculine male or female. EGMi is not interested in political correctness, only scientific correctness and ending all human-made suffering. Domestic violence and abuse is all driven by the faulty right brain. Narcissism, aggression, control OCD, sexual OCD, substance, alcohol abuse OCD. The loving father can change in an instant from using his left logical positive brain to using his faulty right anxious negative brain and bash his wife or sexually abuse his kids. The loving wife and mother can shift the right brain and drive up the husband's right brain use until he snaps. EGMi maximises left brain use. That's what it was designed to do. It cured all my mental illness and made me a much better partner, close to perfect. I now have no narcissism, no OCD. I control my strong genetic sex drive and instinct with my left logical positive brain. I have left brain inner happiness 24/7. I'm not selfish or aggressive and have no harmful sexual thought or feeling or action. I only want what I really need now and that all can have. My relationship with humanity, all life, the planet and the universe is goodness based. There is a free practice on the website and I encourage people to try this, then download the whole EGMi system so we can end all human-made suffering.
Well, broken grass and mountain, best you've ever seen. One for the coppers.